If Sarah J. Maas's books are trash, then I am eating straight out of the dumpster. I am a-okay with it. Hello book reading friends, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Melanie, and today we have my September wrap-up, all those books I read in September, plus my October TBR, which is not final. It may change throughout the month. It is more of these are books that I am definitely reading, and these are some books that I may read. If you have yet to subscribe to my channel, you can do so down below. I am constantly uploading bookish content around 2 to 3 times a week, so I'm sure you don't want to miss any of that. You can also follow me on all of my social medias, which are always linked down below. I have an Instagram, Goodreads, Twitter, and an Amazon wish list. Now you may be asking, Mel, how many books did you read in September? The answer to that would be your girl read 8 books. And also, I just have to say a huge shout out to all the books that I read this month, because I feel like the universe was loving me in September. In that note, I started the month reading Head Over Heels by Hannah Orenstein. I still don't know how to pronounce this last name. And in this book, we follow Avery Abrams, who was on the track to becoming an Olympic gymnast. Right as she was on the Olympic trials in the US, she suffers the biggest injury of her career, which prevents her from actually qualifying to the Olympic team. This book really starts when Avery is making her way back to her hometown after her boyfriend has broken up with her. And once she gets there, she is offered the opportunity to train an Olympic gymnast to be. This job opportunity not only gives her the chance to redeem herself and build a path that she never thought she would embark on, but she also reconnects with a man that she met years ago in the Olympic trials who was an Olympian himself. If you were looking to pick this book up, if you'd ever heard of it because of the romance, don't even pick it up, because I think the most incredible aspect in regards to relationships in this book is the relationship between Avery and Hallie. I think that is the most solid relationship in this book, and I just loved every single scene that Hallie was in. I do have to say this book has trigger warnings because one of the biggest topics that this book tackles is sexual assault within the gymnastic community. I really picked this book up because I have always been a huge gymnastics nerd. When I was younger, I wanted to get into gymnastics. My mom would never let me, so I lived my fantasy through this book, and I loved every second of it. I ended up reading this book a 4 out of 5 stars. The next book I picked up this month was Furia by Jamile Sayed Mendez. I was part of the book tour for this one, so if you want to know all of my in-depth thoughts right as I finished reading this novel, then I will leave my book review down below so you can check that out. Furia follows Camila Hassan, who is the perfect daughter. She never steps out of line, and she fulfills every single expectation that her parents have at home, but she leads a double life because in secret she is a rising football star called La Furia. Once her football team qualifies for an international tournament, things start getting really complicated because the pressure of hiding the secret from her parents is getting more and more intense. This book just represents what it's like living in a Latino country so well, and it was such an empowering read. Just talking about it gives me the chills. And again, if you want to know all my thoughts, I'll just leave my review linked down below so you can check it out. But I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars because I honestly wanted more with the book. I felt like the book could do with like 100 more pages to explore certain things that were trying to be tackled in the novel, but overall just such a great read that again I think everyone should pick up. I am literally not doing this in any particular order, so I'm just gonna talk about this one because I was shook, wig snatched, all of it. The ending of this book was insane, and I am talking about Crown of Midnight by Sarah J. Maas. If you watched my August wrap-up, you know I read Throne of Glass last month. I gave it a 3.5. It was very middle tier for me. There were a lot of things that I wasn't particularly a fan of, but I still decided to carry on with Selena's story. And let me tell you, if there's any second installment that redeems its first installment, it's this one. This was so much better. I still do feel like a lot of this book is also foreshadowing for everything that is going to follow. And it was such a fantastic read because every complaint that I had in the first book was fixed in this book. Everything that I wanted from Selena being such a strong, decided, badass assassin, all of the twists and turns we get in this one. And I know people consider Sarah J. Maas's books trash. If Sarah J. Maas's books are trash, then I am eating straight out of the dumpster. I am a-okay with it. This is just me fangirling over this book for like 7 hours straight. I ended up rating this book a 4.5 out of 5 stars, and that's all I'm gonna say say about this one. The next book I picked up in September was Historically Inaccurate by Shea Bravo. I was also part of the book tour for this book, and I will leave my review linked down below. This was my lowest rated book of the month. I rated it a 3 out of 5 stars. And this book follows Soledad after her mother has been deported, and Sol is now completely lost, thrown off. She has to start anew, new college, make new friends, new clubs, just new everything. And in that journey to find herself, she decides to join the history club at her community college. And for her initiation, she needs to break into the oldest house in the neighborhood and steal a fork. I know, a fork. And once she is there trying to steal that fork, she is caught by the grandson of the owners of the house called Ethan, and that is where the story starts developing. And I don't know if I mentioned this, it is a contemporary YA. It is very much a coming-of-age story, and this book actually came out of Wattpad, and it has a very distinct writing style because it fits the platform really well. So if you find yourself enjoying that type of writing, which again has a certain formula to it, like the kissing booth, like After, then you will definitely enjoy this particular book. But there were just some aspects of the book that weren't really clicking for me. So although it was an enjoyable read, I really didn't find myself loving the characters beside Ethan. I think Ethan was the best character that this book has. His dialogue in this book is so well done. It brings so much good conversation, so many important themes. This next book was a betrayal. A betrayal to Deja from Deja's book world, because we were supposed to buddy read this and I completely left her behind. And I am talking about The Night Swim by Megan Golden. This is an adult thriller, specifically centering around a true crime podcast. And in this book, we follow Rachel, who is a true crime podcast host, as she arrives in Neapolis because she is going to cover a rape case live. She is going to make her audience feel like they are in the jury box. And that is the main case revolving around the novel. And because of that, one of the trigger warnings for this book is rape. And it goes into that topic so in depth. So if that is a trigger for you, just don't pick up this book because it got graphic very, very quickly. However, as Rachel arrives in Neapolis, she is now getting these weird notes signed by this girl named Hannah, whose sister was apparently murdered 25 years in the past, and she is asking Rachel for her help to solve the crime that the police is completely ignoring, and she does not understand why. So I ended up rating this book a 4.5 out of 5 stars. It was just such a great read, and not only do we get those 2 cases, but we also get full-on chapters of that podcast. That was everything that I was expecting and more. I also forgot to mention how much I loved the conversation about rape culture in this book. It was done in such a respectful manner, but also in a way that makes the reader think about how women in rape trials are perceived by society, and more than that, how traumatizing the experience really is for them, and how they need to go and navigate this system that does not benefit them in the slightest. So if you enjoy yourself a good mystery, if you enjoy yourself a good true crime setting, definitely a book that you should pick up. Now I'm going to talk about this next book, but what I need you to do is to do me the favor, hazme el favor, pick up this book. Chef's kiss, all of the praise, all of the bows, todo bien, todo increíble, todo espectacular. I am talking about Cemetery Boys by Aiden Thomas. Definitely a new favorite of mine. I did tap this book. I annotated the hell out of this book. It was such a fantastic read. In this book, we follow Yadriel, who is a transgender boy and a brujo, and his family is having the toughest time embracing whom he truly is. And to prove himself a real brujo, he decides, along with his cousin Maritza, to attempt to bring back a ghost from a family member, but instead, ya boy ends up bringing back the school's resident bad boy, Julian Diaz, who will not go back to the dead quietly until they help him figure out exactly when, why, and how he died. Just first of all, the fact that this book includes inclusive language is incredible. Second of all, the way that Latin American culture was portrayed in this book was so well done. You can tell it comes from someone who very much grew up with that culture, who very much understands it. The way the food was described, the lore, the way that traditions were talked about in this book about quinceañeras, but the way it was twisted for this brujex community was just so well done. It made me reminisce so much to my childhood days and to my teenage years. Of course, this book tackles topics like transphobia and systemic discrimination and immigration. Some of those themes I was not expecting to read about in this book, particularly about systemic discrimination and systemic racism, but I enjoyed every single second of it. The book also has incredible banter and dialogue, which is one of the hardest things to do in books. I also loved the way that the romance was developed in this book, because the book happens in the span of 3 days, a weekend, 4 days, 5 days, a week, something like that, within that time frame. And I love that nothing in this book felt rushed. Just overall, the relationships in this book were written so incredibly well. Oh, did I tell you my rating? I mean, I don't think I did, but I think it's safe to say I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars. There was no doubt about it. There was absolutely no other way. Another thriller that I read this month that I finished literally today was When No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole. As you guys know, I was really excited to read this book and I pre-ordered it. So okay, let me just preface this by saying I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed the hell out of this book, but not for the reasons that you may think. This book is a thriller and it is pitched as a Rear Window meets Get Out, and it talks about gentrification, again in a thriller setting in New York. I very much enjoyed the topics that were obviously tackled in this book. It talks a lot about racism, systemic racism, gentrification. That was so interesting to read about. And Alyssa Cole even manages to include historical facts in this book that just educates the reader, and I loved every single bit of it. I don't know if you guys can tell, I have a lot of orange tabs. Those orange tabs are what the hell moments. What the hell just happened? I am pissed, I am mad. And the way that this book worked me up, y'all, I cannot even begin to explain it to you. If you follow me on Twitter, you know, because I was livid. The craziest thing about this is that it's a real thing and it happens and it could happen. And that is the best thing about this book, and that is why I enjoyed it. It is very much psychological because it messes with your brain so much, or at least it messed with me, y'all, because I was reading and every single possible route I thought the book was gonna take, it did not take. And I think my only issue with this book was the pacing. The pacing was very off. There were moments that felt really interesting, then some moments that felt really boring. The ending, I liked the ending, but I didn't like the ending. You know what I mean? And I didn't like the ending because I feel like it just got a little too crazy and chaotic, and I like me some chaos. We know I'm chaotic, but this was a level of chaoticness that I was not expecting. Just when I was expecting tension, there was none of it, and then it was over. Sydney, Theo, Sydney's relationship with her neighbors, everything was great. I loved to read about it. And again, so many moments in this book made me want to slap certain bitches across the face and pull some hairs. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. That's all I can think about because I just finished it today. My brain is still not processing and it's very late at night. And last, but certainly not least, for September, I read The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. Now, I did a reading vlog for this. In this book, we follow Addie LaRue, who in the 1700s makes a Faustian bargain to basically sell her soul in exchange for immortality. The only catch was that she could have immortality, but nobody would remember her. That all changes after 300 years when she walks into a hidden bookstore and for the first time, somebody remembers her name. And I already ranted about this book a lot in my reading vlog. I just absolutely adored V.E. Schwab's lyrical writing, and I think that lyrical writing paired up with this type of story was the best combination ever, and it really elevated the storytelling. And it just, again, I said this in my reading vlog, it has a way of destroying you and putting you together all at the same time. Safe to say, I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars because it deserves no less than that, in my opinion. But again, I will leave leave all of my thoughts in depth for past Melanie in my reading blog, which again, I will link down below in case you want to check it out. Now, as for the books that I want to get to in October, also known as my October TBR, what I'm doing this month is that I am going to talk about a few books that I know I am certainly getting to in October, and then a few books that I may get to. These right here are the books that I know I am getting to for certain. Let me just break it down for you real quick. Legendborn by Tracy Dion. I think my brain by this point is already wired to love this book. So if I don't love it, it'll be tragic as hell. In this book, we follow Bree after her mother passes and she decides that all she wants is an escape. So she enrolls into this special high schooler program, except on the very first night on campus, she witnesses a magical attack, and now that same club that committed that magical act wants to recruit her. This book is about Arthurian mythology. Not only that, it's written by a Black author. The main character is also Black. The next book I really want to read in October is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. This is a book that I tried to read in September, but my brain just wasn't there. Like, it just wasn't connecting with this book. This is a dark academia set in Yale, and it talks about secret societies and cults, and it follows Alex Stern, who is again recruited into this secret society cult type thing, and she can see ghosts. So she's basically a very valuable asset to this cult. I will finally be getting to Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. What a better time to read this book than in October. And this is set in 1950s Mexico. It is a Gothic horror. The Lovecrafts meet the Brontes, and it follows Noemi Tawala after she receives a very ominous, mysterious letter from her newlywed cousin, and she is asked to go to this mansion called High Place to solve an ongoing mystery that is linked to her cousin's new husband. The next three books that I know I am going to read, like 250 million%, because I am doing a reading vlog on it, is the Poppy War trilogy. Now, I had applied for an e-arc for The Burning God. Y'all, the way I didn't realize that I'd been approved for this 8 days ago is insane to me. I never got an email. I never got any confirmation. And suddenly today, I don't even know why I got into Edelweiss, just for the shits and giggles. And then the message was there. And I think I'm gonna scream some more in this reading vlog that's going to be eventful. I don't know why I insist on having the worst time during my birthday month, but you know what? I am ready. I've heard such great things about the Poppy War. Another book that I definitely know I am reading in October is Heir of Fire, which is the third book in the Throne of Glass series. Again, I just read Crown of Midnight, and after that ending, I need my dose of Throne of Glass. And I also, a little peek into my Book of the Month box, I got Deadly Education by Naomi Novik as an add-on, and that is also a dark academia. It centers around magic. It follows a girl who is in this magical academy, except this academy has no teachers. It's literally a do or die situation. Either you learn how to survive or you get killed. I don't need to know anymore. I think it's the perfect fall read. That makes 8 books, which is exactly what I read in September. Up until there, we're good. I know I'm gonna read those, most definitely, especially because I'm doing sprints every Friday of October. Books that I would like to get into in October, but most likely will not. It's a maybe. Vicious by V.E. Schwab, which is again a Marvels meets Heroes. It's V.E. Schwab. After reading The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, I really want to get into more of the writing. Thunderhead by Neil Schusterman. It is the sequel to Scythe. I have been meaning to pick up this book ever since it got here because I was desperate after the ending of Scythe. Safe to say I haven't picked it up yet because I've gotten carried away with other books, but I definitely want to see what happens next in Scythe. And those are all the books that I have for you guys today in my books I read in September wrap-up situation, and also the messy little October TBR maybe situation. This is just how my chaotic brain works. I thought about doing a separate video for my October TBR, and then I was like, nah, I'm having none of that. I hope you guys come out of this video with more book recommendations and books to add to your TBR. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a big thumbs up. Comment down below, how many books did you read in September? What did you read? And what are you looking forward to read in October? Let me know all of those things down in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Again, I am constantly making content, 2 or 3 videos a week, which I'm sure none of you want to miss. Besides the fact that we're also doing weekly reading sprints every Friday. Again, you can follow me on all of my social medias. They are always linked down below. I have an Instagram, Goodreads, Twitter, and an Amazon wishlist in case you want to support me and my channel and gift me a book. I love you all, and I will see you on my next one. Bye, guys.